Parish Church, where grace happens.
Good morning. How are you this morning? From where I'm sat, outside the window of the study here, there is a beautiful blue sky. There are some tiny slithers of stretched cloud. I can see my neighbour's bright green and red bush bursting like a flame above his fence, and there are wee birds darting about and singing. That's what it's like in my room this afternoon. What's it like in your room? What's it like in the room of your heart? Perhaps it's very different from what I've just described this morning. Perhaps not so much blue sky, more overcast. Perhaps not so much birds singing, but just the white noise of anxiety. Maybe the lockdown's given you an opportunity to rethink about what really matters to you, who really matters to you, where really matters to you. All of our experiences are different. But if God is the God who meets us in Jesus, then our different experience is porous to His presence. Have you ever had an experience where you've walked in somewhere and people are maybe laughing and joking and they've said, "Oh, you've just missed it. You should have seen it." This morning we're going to think about a moment like that happened for Thomas. When Jesus arrives in another locked room and they say, "Oh, you should have seen it. You've missed it." How did Thomas feel about that? Well, let's explore that together.
The SAVIOUR, Jesus Christ the Son, God from God and light from light, through whom all things were made. He came down from heaven to save us and died upon the cross, risen on the third day, ascended to the throne above. He will come again to judge the living and the dead. This is our God. This is our hope, our faith, our creed. It's unshakable. The Spirit who gives life is worshipped as the Lord. We believe in one church, united, sent into the world. We await our resurrection and the world to come. This is our God. This is our hope, our
Thomas, who was called the Twin, one of the 12, was not with them when Jesus came. So the other disciples told him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see the mark of the nails in his hands, and put my finger in the mark of the nails, and my hand in his side, I will not believe." A week later, his disciples were again in the house, and Thomas was with them. Although the doors were shut, Jesus came and stood among them, and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Put your finger here and see my hands. Reach out your hand and put it in my side. Do not doubt, but believe." Thomas answered him, "My Lord and my God." Jesus said to him, "Have you believed because you have seen me? Blessed are those who have not seen and yet have come to believe."
So you're having a conversation. Maybe there's 2 or 3 of you. You're just dealing one another the cards of opinion. When someone gets pretty heated and their emotion goes a bit overboard, out of all proportion to what it is you're talking about, one of those awkward silences follow, where everyone's looking at each other as if the conversation has turned into a ghost town. And you're all thinking, where did that come from? When that happens, I think we sometimes witness a wound breaking to the surface, like a whale coming up for air. When someone is overrun, overcome, into saying more than they intended, often they're as stunned as anyone else by what they've said. What happened? Is it not the shape of a hurt, frustration, or pain that borrows the clothes of a conversation to rise up and be seen before diving back into the hiddenness of a human heart again? Does something like that not happen to Thomas? When he comes back and hears from his friends, "Oh, you should have been here. Jesus has risen from the dead." Unfortunately for Thomas, he happened to be out. Who knows why he risked going outside? Maybe like us, he just needed some air, just needed to be out of the locked room, just needed a break from those he was shut up with. But for whatever reason, Thomas is missing. And he answers his friends, "Unless I put my finger in the mark of the nails and my hand into his side, I won't believe." Thomas is talking about Jesus' wounds, but it's his own pain he shows us. Given the clothes of these words to wear, Thomas's wounds are seen. Wounds that can't be evaporated on someone else's say-so. Thomas can't believe what he's been told because the skin of his trust has been dragged along the pavement of Jesus' crucifixion. Good on him. For if in the face of their passionate witness, Thomas surrendered his doubt, that would have been a self-betrayal, a denial of his pain, a silencing of his confusion. When Thomas tells us, "Unless I see, I won't believe," he's not just being stubborn. Is he not saying, "I'm so full of pain right now, I've not got any room left to receive a new thing God is doing"? unless I see the mark of the nails, unless I put my finger on those marks, unless I place my hand inside his wound, I will not believe. And maybe at that moment, everyone in the room looked at one another and thought, where did that come from? But good on them, for none of them makes a pitch to prove Thomas is wrong or to try and correct him. It's as if they respect that Thomas is showing his open wounds. The distance Thomas puts between himself and what his friends now believe doesn't become their cue to get shot of him. We know this because a week later, his disciples were again in the house and Thomas was with them. Thomas can't bring himself yet to believe what they say, but he still wants to hang about with them, and he still gets to. With his doubt, beset with all he can't make sense of, Thomas still belongs to them, and they belong to him. Is it not always good to make room for people to belong, especially if their hearts are a hive of unanswered questions? Maybe you're like Thomas this morning, in the midst of this lockdown, finding yourself listening to this as someone struggling to believe there could be a God, never mind one that's good. But you're still here. You who once believed, you who want to believe but can't quite get there yet. Some days it's enough to rest in the company of others who trust in the goodness, mercy, and forgiveness of Jesus. When your own faith feels puffed out, if that's you, quite literally in the locked room of your house, well, know this: you have a place here. You belong. You're welcome. Although the doors were shut, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Is that not what we all need to find in the middle of this lockdown, in the midst of our isolation? How the Jesus who broke free of death's lockdown can find his way to wherever we are holed up and bring us peace. Peace for our trouble, peace to our struggle, peace from what we cannot answer, peace that is a bigger reality than any locked and fearful room. Jesus finds a way to where Thomas is, to come through Thomas's shut doors, and he speaks peace in a way that Thomas can receive. Today, I'm grateful for Thomas's doubt, and for all that allows us to see of God, not least how the wounds of Jesus aren't simply the empty marks of violence, but are the source of our healing. It's by Jesus' wounds we are healed. Thomas will only find healing and the trust to believe when the pain he put into words is heard, and heard by another who has been wounded. This story tells me that our hidden wounds are maybe best healed when we are in the presence of one another's woundedness. Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Come on then, put your finger here. Come on, reach out your hand, put it here." When Jesus shows the marks of his crucifixion, it's not a smug or a stern act. It's done out of a place of peace. It's offered as a gift to Thomas, giving him what he needs. Deep touches deep. And if God still bears his wounds in Jesus, then wounds are never something to be ashamed of. I think we're sometimes tempted to treat our hurts as a source of embarrassment, as a sign of weakness or a statement of failure. But by his wounds, Jesus shows us how our hurting cannot be erased, ignored, or treated as if it doesn't matter. To be human is to be wounded by something, and in some sense we are our wounds. Not only our wounds, but we are our wounds. And in showing us the marks of his own woundedness, from out of a place of peace, Jesus invites us not to be ashamed of what we have allowed to hurt us. It's an important part of who we are. Our wounds need to be integrated, given their own place in us, if we are ever to be at peace with them. And maybe that's one way in which we are healed by the wounds of Christ. Healing doesn't erase hurt, it grows around it. Put your finger here. Reach out and put your hand in my side. The wounded Jesus wears his scars without shame. He is at peace with them. He is at peace with them. And it's from them he speaks his peace, because they are a part of who he is. But he is more than his woundedness. And so are we. Jesus' wounds became a gift to Thomas and offer the deep mystery of how the wounds we have given Jesus become the source of our healing. Maybe Thomas was right. Maybe we need to see the wounds, or we can't see God for who he is. Unless we see and touch the wounds of Christ, not least in one another, we won't be able to believe in the kind of God who wins by crucifixion, who forgives through the wound we have inflicted on him, who surrenders to death to bring us a new way to live. Maybe it's only as the wounded Christ invites us into the intimacy of the pain he wears on his body, of the pain he claims as his own in our brother or sister, that we can listen deeply to his command. Don't doubt. Believe. It's only as our wound meets his that peace will grow around our pain and the pain of our brother and sister, as together we are free to answer, my Lord and my God. It's in these words of Thomas, a realization that his friends were telling him the truth, and now it's a truth he knows for himself, knows in his own experience. The truth that there's a life bigger than death. The truth that there is a love stronger than hate. The truth that there is a victory that knows nothing about humiliating your enemy. So here is the good news this morning. There is not a doubt in your heart, not a locked room in your pain, not a boarded over window of your shame or poor believing that Jesus will not enter into and offer to you his wounds. Wounds that carry to us the peace of God.
Breathe. Orient to my voice. Blink. Hold on. Blink again. Open your eyes and tell me what you see. Do you remember me? Your perspective has changed. Take a moment. The lens of the Spirit is compassion and grace. Can you see it? Do you feel it? Go slow. It's just you and me, and we have nothing but time. Take a moment to center on your heart. It is completely unfolded, wide open. All of the emotions from the journey can catch up to you all at once. There's a lot to feel. Take yourself in. You are still you, just different. I have sealed your wounds, but left your scars. Everything in your life has mattered. Remember, but don't dwell on the past. Take my shirt, and here, have my coat as well. I'm sure you're hungry. Have a seat. I'll bring your plate. Here is your cup, full of wine. There is plenty. I'm about to send you out. Are you ready? The world has not changed. It knows no difference in you today from yesterday. In fact, they will try to identify you by the marks of your old ways and hold you to the mythology of your former life. They will look at you sideways and they will wonder what they see. They may even ask who you think you are, but I know exactly who you are. So rise up, my hope, and carry the message. I am still alive and well in the world, active and fully present. Death is only the beginning.
May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord's face shine down on you and show you grace. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you.